Yan. We've also started recording the session. Ito po ay for documentation and also to have to be able to share this with more teachers. Yung we can share this recording also for teachers who'd like to watch this even after the workshop. Yan. Sige. So yun po ang ating magiging schedule. In terms of tools, we will be using two tech tools to enrich our experience. Ito po, suki tayo nito. We'll be using Mentimeter and also Miro. Right now, the tool that we're using is actually Miro. Nasa Miro po yung slides and presentation that we are using. So later we'll have a chance to interact with our Miro workspace. Yan. So pwede po ba kaming makakita sa chat kung pa-thumbs up po tayo if nagamit na natin or we experience using Mentimeter? When thumbs up po tayo sa mga nakagamit na ng Mentimeter. Yes.
Madami-dami rin siya.
Suki sa ating, lalo na sa educators, ang Mentimeter. Yan. Thank you. Heart reacts naman. Let's use the heart reacts if we're able to use Miro. Tingnan po natin kung, let's see. Interesting to see also if we're able to use Miro already. Based on the Zoom reacts, mas maraming familiar na with Mentimeter. So exciting. We'll be able to explore and use another tool, Miro. Yan. Okay. Sige, let's proceed. Jovi, anything else that you'd like to add before we continue?
Wala naman. So again, I guess a reminder, if anyone has any like tech difficulty, feel free to message us to the chat, direct messages to the chat on our Zoom chat. Dun sa mga nanonood sa Facebook Live natin, feel free to leave a comment and we'll get to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Jovi. Yan. So if we were in a face-to-face workshop, ito na po yung part na we'd be rallying you and checking out if we're ready, asking for you to return the message also kung ready na tayo. We'll ask you to also say ready na. So let's try to do that also. If you're ready, please type in the chat ready so we know that we can start with our first activity, which is all about sharing experiences on professional development activity. Ready na ba tayo? Ready? Ready. Yes, ready! Exclamation point. Yan. Thank you. Ramdam pa rin po yung energy kahit in the online space. Thank you for sharing the space. So for our first activity, magkwentuhan po muna tayo. So let's exchange stories. And thank you for this tool, Mentimeter. We will be using Mentimeter to help us share our ideas and stories. Yan. So we'll be sharing it also on the chat, yung link, inviting everyone to go to menti.com and type the code 39154139. Yan. I will also, yan. Let us know po if you're able to access also yung ating Mentimeter. Yan. And then po yung back end, you can see it now. I am starting, yes, present. So for those of you who are joining us on Facebook Live, you can also access our Mentimeter. Just click the link. We'll also post it there. Or go to menti.com and use the code 39154139. So let's exchange stories. Yan. Ikaw, Jovi, pwede din akong sumali sa cellphone. Yan. Pwede po tayong sumali din. So far, ayan, dumadami na po ang ating kasama sa ating Menti space.
Pwede rin nila actually, yung scan, yung yung QR code.
QR code. Ako sasali din ako I'll try to also join sa mobile. Options and alternatives also for us. In the event that you can't join on Menti, you can still share your answers in the comments or in the Zoom chat. So pwede pa rin po yun. Yes, feel free to share your responses pa rin to our questions. Let's give ourselves a few more seconds to have more teachers be able to join our story exchange. Menti.com 391541. Yan. Alright. Checking ang kasama natin. Jovi, ready? We can start?
30 out of 30.
Sige.
Makahahabol pa ang iba. Or if you can't join again, please make use of the chat function here in our Zoom call.
Sige. Ready. Sige. Let's start. Alright. So we have 5 sets of questions. Yan. Hindi tayo pong magkukwentuhan. Sige, Joey, let's start our story sharing with our first warm-up muna. Yan. Warm-up muna. Word association. So, tingnan muna natin our main topic for today is professional development. So, what comes to your mind when you see the word professional development? PD. Yan. Or PD in short. Yan. Ikaw, Jovi, anong top 3 words that comes to your mind?
Yung top 3 na nilagay ko was seminar,
Mhm.
workshop, and also promotion. Kasi usually, di ba, like we undergo professional development to, I guess, substantiate our plans for promotion.
Mhm.
And yun nga, yung unang words na pumapap dito is like workshop, seminar, training.
Interesting, Jovi. Agree. Kasi ito, we're just sensing kung ano pa yung, what usually comes to our mind, what's usually associated to professional development. And so far, based sa ating word cloud, yung pinaka marami talaga ay training, workshop. Yun din yung feature ng Menti, yung mas maraming responses or same responses, mas malaki din yung itsura niya in our visual. So mukhang in our group this afternoon, usually associated ang PD or professional development sa workshop, training, growth. Yan. Checking. Jovi, anything interesting? May nakikita kang interesting na answers or responses here in our word cloud?
Yes. Yung isa na nag-catch attention ko, may coffee na word.
May
So
coffee.
usually nga, pag may mga workshops or may mga seminars, may pa-coffee. Interesting also some values associated, I guess, with professional development, like confidence, improvement, ethics, maturity, yes. So these are like some, I guess, more of like intangible values that we get through professional development.
Yes, agree. Nakikita din po natin yung mga, what's currently on our mind. Yan, so magandang exercise din for everyone here in the Zoom call and those joining us in the Facebook Live. So ito po yung mga nasa utak or ito yung mga naiisip natin right now at this point when we think about professional development. I will also highlight dito yung it's not a one-time thing. Super agree. It's not a one-time event. Yan. So later po, we'll also share with you more opportunities on how we can support this, yung mas sustainable professional development for us teachers. Yan. Something that we can be sure of, halos lahat ng nandito sa call is very much invested in our professional development, either as for our own capacity as teachers or for bringing professional development opportunities to our colleagues and teachers. Yan. Sige, punta tayo sa next question. Na-warm up na tayo ng onte. Go, Jovi. Anong next question natin?
Our next question, describe an effective teacher professional development program. So let's just follow the prompt na lalabas sa ating devices. Share your answers.
An effective teacher professional development program, especially since we had this big curveball of an event, ito pong pandemic that really changed the ways of teaching and learning. Ano yung so far na mga natutunan natin in the 2 years of our experience? Ano yung mga effective teacher PDs that we've experienced, observed, or read? Yan. Tingnan natin ang mga answers. Being productive and consistent. Interactive, timely, and innovative. May element of collaboration. Yan. Can be applied, applicable to the teaching learning process. Sige, let's zoom up. Tingnan natin. As more answers come in. Fits the needs of the teachers, plus 1 million. Yes, responsive to our needs.
Translate concepts into practice, yes. Aligned with school goals. Transformative, yes, transformative.
Comes from needs analysis, yes. as the answers come in, we can see na there are different ways on describing an effective teacher professional development program. Some of us focus on the content, how it's relevant to our context or to the goals of the school. Some of us are focusing on the form, if it's interactive, collaborative, and others are also focusing on the impact. It's seen on the students, nakikita siya agad sa end goal natin, we see the fruits of our professional development also to our students. Yan. Ito, basahin natin itong isa. Applicable to schools context. Allows collaboration among teachers handling the same subject area or same grade level. More experiential rather than lecture-based. Yan. Ito po yung also our efforts to make our PD programs accessible and collaborative. Yan, something that we also noticed in the pandemic. Mas naging isa sa naging opportunity also because of the online space is making it more accessible. Kagaya nito, this is a free professional development activity for us teachers. Yan.
One thing I noticed, siguro may parang dalawang perspectives na lumalabas dun sa responses. One from like the learner or the participant perspective, and another from perhaps the school leadership or school administration, those that encourage such programs to happen for their teachers.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So tingnan natin, in this afternoon session, this is also our hope as we start planning and designing professional development activities for our colleagues and teachers for the coming school year. Hopefully, yung mabubuo po natin, those professional development activities and programs that will create also reflect our answers here. Sana yun, effective sila and well-designed learning experiences. Yan. I'll move us along for our next question. Meron po tayong 3 more questions. Yan. Let's see what's our next question. Sige. For question 3, let's see. Let's see. Ano naman tayo? Our hopes for PD programs. Yan. So, let's complete the statement. I wish teacher professional development programs are... I wish teacher professional development programs yan, let's see. Free. Pinakauna pong lumabas, free. Yes. Challenging and motivating. Pasok sa time and also sa budget. Yan. More interactive. Addresses what needs to be addressed. Helpful and interesting. Are short but meaty and substantial. Free and accessible to all. Mm-hmm. Easy to find. Yes. Even if a teacher is not teaching yet. So far sa itong mga first set of answers na nakikita natin, Jovi, medyo malakas yung sentiment of accessibility na accessible to more teachers. Yes. Marami din pong sumasagot ng free. Yan, and affordable.
Interesting itong entry on not abused. I wonder, not abused. I wish teacher professional development programs are not abused. Parang interesting. Ano kayang ibig sabihin? Yeah, parang perhaps there's something in their experience about it. Hindi ubus oras.
Inviting you also po, if you want to expound your answers, you can share it sa chat or sa comments. Yon. So it's something also that we can do to expound our answers here. Yon. So pwede pa natin palalimin talaga yung conversation on this, no? Ano pa lang, tip of the iceberg pa lang yung nakita natin right now as we try to understand yung different contexts natin on what we wish PD programs are. Yeah. Okay. All right. And consistent. Ito din yung mga usual na nakita natin dun sa how we describe effective teacher professional development programs. Sige, let's go to the next. Tingnan natin. Ayan. Transition natin. Ang mga next set of questions po natin will be related to PPST. Yeah, so this is something na very much familiar, especially for our colleagues in public schools. Ito po ang ating Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. We know that our government or education sector is really investing a lot of effort in making sure that our teachers are capable yun and well trained yan to give quality education for our teachers. So isa po ito sa ating major policies, the PPST. So yung susunod po nating set of questions will be related to the PPST. Yan, sige tingnan natin. Ooh, ito po siya. Let's try this. This is a quick sense check. These are the domains. Yes, the different domains that are included in the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. So at this point, let's do a quick check po. Use the scales in your Mentimeter. Try to assess where you are in terms of your knowledge and skills in the following domains. Yan. So titingnan natin, makikita natin itong through this spider chart kung kamusta in this column yung kamusta yung ating self-assessment on our on our domains. Tingnan natin. In terms of the scale, for those who are joining us on Facebook Live, we're using 1 to 4. Yun, yung 1 is the beginning teacher. Yun. And 4 is also the distinguished teacher, which is the same scale being used by DepEd. Jovi, so far, anong nakikita natin?
Yeah, isa sa lowest, I would say, or tending towards the lower end of the scale is on diversity of learners. And then yung highest would be on curriculum and planning. I guess this would describe more of like the difference between theory and practice, no? Like familiarity with like the curriculum and how to structure the learning experience versus, you know, the interactions and like the kinds of students that we actually are encountering in our own classrooms.
Again, this is a note. Ito po ay based on the responses of those who are joining us here on Mentimeter. So just a quick snapshot of those who are synchronously participating in this workshop. I'm sure pwedeng ibang-iba pa to in your school context. Yan, or pag nakita natin yung whole snapshot of the Philippine, of teachers in the Philippines. So ito, interesting for this call, yung kasama natin, synchronized ngayon, ito ang lumabas. Yan.
Just for the 38 or
yes.
I guess, well, currently 25 who've answered this question. Yung lumabas. So interesting note, Chess, we need to take note of this and then compare it to our Saturday cohort if they come up with the same responses.
Agree. Meron pong second run itong workshop na ito this Saturday afternoon. Let's see kung it's something similar or different din yung magiging results itong question na to. And on to our last question. This one. Yeah, this is our last question already since we're moving to our workshop, proceeding with our workshop. Quick inventory and survey from those joining us in this workshop. What do you think is the most pressing professional development concern for teachers? Yeah, so top of mind or one concern, most pressing concern, PD for teachers. Let's see. Word cloud po ulit ang ating makikita for this. Malaking response on time. Yes, we know it talaga. It also needs time. PD needs time also. Yes. Accessibility, application of learning, adjustments. We can see here na since that our answers here are a little more diverse, yun. So medyo magkakaiba yung answers din natin dito. Iba-iba yung nakikita nating pressing concern for our teachers. Again, we know we have different contexts in our own schools, in our own learning environments. Yan. Feel free to write also if you want to share more thoughts about this in the chat, pwede po or sa comment section. Yan. Kagaya ng answer ni Paul dito, yes, content and context. Yan. Let's see. Okay.
So there is a number of our participants here in our Menti na talagang time, and I think relevance is one of like the bigger words here. Dun yung responses. But yes, there is a diversity. So I'm talking about hybrid or the hybrid learning setup as we are moving out of the pandemic,
Mhm.
more into face to face.
So itong time and relevance, let's think about this again. And as we proceed with our workshop on planning and facilitating school-based professional development activities, ito yung babaunin natin. Let's think of ways on how we can plan PD activities that are responsive or relevant to the needs of our teachers, and also can adjust to the different time needs of our teachers. We know that PD activities also need time. Kumakain din sila ng oras sa atin. And again, thank you for joining us this afternoon and investing time for your own professional development activities. Yan. So we'll end our Menti here. If you'd like to have access can also sa results, please let us know. Send us a message. The results can also be downloaded in PDF. Yan. So pwede niyo po siyang makita. Yan. Thank you. Okay. I'll shift our screen. Balik po tayo dun sa ating Miro na workspace. So we're done sharing stories. Thank you. Yan. And we will proceed with our conversation this afternoon. Okay. So, ngayon, itong entire workshop na ito, as we also invited you to answer in our pre-workshop survey, Facebook Digital tayo and Habi strongly believes that the role of teachers are really pivotal in shaping our society. So we know the unique role and the huge responsibility that teachers have when it comes to shaping our society. And because of this, we also know that as teachers, we continuously invest effort for our professional development, not just for our promotions in lumabas kanina, but ultimately to be able to deliver quality learning experiences for our learners. And this is something that our country has been investing on, yung ating CPD. Now we also have a CPD law in their country to support the professional development of teachers. So we know that this is something that we are a sector, we are working really hard on how we can continuously improve the professional development and standards of our teachers of the profession here in our country. And now, ito po yung challenge and also invitation for all of us. Lumabas po kanina dun sa ating Mentimeter that one thing that we want PD programs to be is that it's responsive to our teachers' needs. And an opportunity that we can see is that if we have more school-based professional development programs. Yun. So tayo po mismo mga magkaka-school, we can create and design our PD programs for our own, for our colleagues. Yun. Since we know the needs and the context of our own school. So kahit po tayo teachers dito, we know how unique and diverse the context of each teaching institution is. Yun. So iba-iba din talaga yung context and reality of teachers in the public school, teachers in the private school, teachers in large schools or smaller schools. So ito po din yung invitation ng ating Facebook Digital tayo is to really use and invest more school-based professional development activities natin. Yan. So check natin kung kayo din po, if you want to share your thoughts also on our professional development currently in basic education, feel free to share your thoughts here in the chat. Yan. Pwede niyo din po i-share yung thoughts natin, share your either thoughts or questions and also insights on the professional development of teachers in basic education. Yan.
Okay. So, thank you, Chess. So medyo backtrack tayo ng konti and discuss further a bit of why we're having this workshop, why Facebook is like offering this workshop on planning and facilitating school-based professional development. So this workshop really is part of an ongoing collaboration. Once again, an ongoing collaboration between Facebook and their Digital Tayo program and Habi Education Lab. So this collaboration started in around 2020. Digital Tayo is the local adaptation of Facebook's We Think Digital program, which is a global digital literacy program aimed at helping people to think more critically and share more thoughtfully online. And we've seen in this pandemic with the massive shift towards more online and digital learning that there is that need to help more teachers specifically in digital literacy and digital citizenship. So Digital Tayo Teachers was created to address that design challenge of how might we empower teachers as models and ambassadors of good digital citizenship. And Digital Tayo Teachers as a project aims to enhance the digital literacy skills of pre-service teachers, specifically pre-service teachers all over the country. So we believe that by equipping pre-service teachers before they even step into the classroom with good digital literacy skills and good digital citizenship, they would eventually be able to model that for students in their classroom and for future generations. And so, with that in mind, we partnered with uh, under the support of Facebook Digital Tayo, we partnered with different higher education institutions, teacher education institutions, different edtech instructors and teachers to create resources. And if you follow us on our social media, if you've been watching our SOCMED feed and our post, you've probably been invited to a workshop or to an event concerning the Digital Tayo teacher course packs. And we created this microsite, digitaltayo.habieducationlab.org. This houses all of the course packs that we created for the pre-service teacher curriculum. Although these were designed really for the higher ed instructors to support their teaching of the EdTech foundational courses in the pre-service teacher curriculum. These are actually all usable by teachers of different levels because at its core, it's really about building good digital literacy skills and digital citizenship. So with that, as we move to 2020, late 2021 to 2022, our challenge now shifted towards how might we bring the Digital Tayo program to basic education. So we're done with focusing on the pre-service teacher curriculum, and we wanted to scale more and looking at the opportunity that that came with the shift towards online learning. So now we are focusing on in-service teachers. How can we support the in-service teachers at the basic education level? Um, One thing that we noticed as we were working on the course packs and supporting the teachers who were using the course packs, there was a need for more upskilling and capacity building. And that was before they were able to even use the course pack contents. So rather than focusing on creating or developing materials and resources that they might not be ready to use, we decided to focus on supporting school-based professional development programs for these teachers. And this connects with the core principles of Digital Tayo, that technology integration should be more human-centered and connect really to our need for digital literacy and digital citizenship, connecting that with why we are teaching in the first place and what we want to achieve as teachers. So it's really about connecting to the core of the teaching profession. Um, so that's like a general overview of the history of this project. Next slide, please, Jess. I think before we introduce the program that specifically addresses the professional development needs we want to offer, we want to know, what does your school need in terms of PT? Just how do we go about this? Yes. We'd like to ask you to share your answers on our Miro board. Lacey has linked it in her chat, the link to our Miro board. Jess. So again, what does your school need in terms of professional development? And we'd like to ask you to put your answers on these squares or sticky notes on our Miro board. So just pick one and then add in your response to that question. If you're having difficulty to access our Miro board, you can also use our chat in our Zoom box, Zoom room. And for those watching on Facebook, you can use the comment section. Let's give a few moments. So we set 3 minutes. So again, if you're having difficulty accessing our Miro board, um, kindly use chat. We can put your responses here from the chat into our Miro board uh, for you. Give a few moments. People are putting their teaching in SPED is a need for professional development, subject-based TVs, teaching methods, innovative teaching methods, action research, PBL. Training on high flex modality, using 2 cards on high flex. And then also, I think 2 on project-based learning. Just I'm not sure if you're speaking pero nakamute ka. So baka lang hindi mo na-notice na nakamute ka.
We have 1 more minute. Yan, 1 more minute.
How about you, Chess? Thoughts on what schools need in terms of PD? So we did this project to tackle specifically digital literacy and digital citizenship. But what else do you think do schools need or should focus on that?
In my own context,
Mhm.
assessment. One of the most challenging, yun, formative assessment of students. Yes. Mhm.
That's that. 20 seconds left. Again, if you can't access our Miro board, you can leave your responses here in the chat, and we can put it on the board for you. Um, yeah, by the end of the time, if you still want to like interact with this board, feel free to do so. Just put in your responses here on our Miro board, and but we will move forward with our presentation before going on to the next part of the activity. But
Okay.
yeah, I think like a majority is talking about like the high flex modality, SEL for teachers, and then project-based learning.
Mm.
Uh, those kinds of topics have a lot of responses.
Agree this on SEL, lalo na Juvie. It's also one of the key findings in the research done by Habi last year
Mm,
on on changes in the professional development also of teachers. Social emotional learning skills is something that really came up in that study also.
I see. I see. All right.
I'll move to the next slide. Sige.
Yes. Thank you, Chess. So yeah, so we've conducted our own field research. We talked to schools, school leaders, teachers on what would be like an effective way that we can bring the digital tire program into those professional development needs. And that's how we came up with the digital tire care program. So our answer to this challenge is the care program, because that we believe in our teachers. We believe that our teachers care. Care is really at the heart of the program. Care for the students, for fellow teachers, for communities, and for themselves. And so we kind of tailored the content to address that. Care will be our main idea when we invite teachers to participate in these learning programs. Um, Next slide, please, Chef. So this care package is actually a set of self-paced learning courses on our learning platform Habi Plus. If you follow our work, we have our own like self-paced learning platform called Habi Plus, as well as facilitation or discussion guides on how to use these courses for school-based professional development programs, with a particular focus on the format of learning action cells or LAC sessions. Although there is that focus, we also want to leave an open invitation that you can take these courses as individuals or bring it to your schools to use as like a jump off point for creating um, however you want to do your school-based professional development, whether it's through a LAC session or um, maybe something similar like in the school that I worked with before, they called it PLC or professional learning communities, or just like smaller mentorship program. So this care package is really designed to help teachers build creative, accessible, responsible, and enriching learning experiences, while also building those good digital literacy skills, and then helping teachers model good digital citizenship. Um, to make it more easier to navigate and easier to map against the teachers' career plans, we map these courses to the PPSTs or the professional standards for teachers. And these would, each of the courses address specific domains and strands uh, so that they can easily navigate their professional development. So you don't need to go through all four. You can just look at which course you would think would be the best or most relevant for your context. If you're planning like a program for your whole cohort of teachers, you can design it in such a way that certain teachers would go for certain courses, or make them go through all of them and then go back and create your lab sessions based on these courses. So our first course, yung creative digital learning, it's to help teachers build human-centered learning experiences through different modalities and technologies. These specifically address that fourth domain regarding curriculum and planning. Um, each of the courses are roughly, like on average, around 2.5 hours. But when we tested it, actually some teachers can finish it faster. So it's really up to you. It's really designed to be a self-paced learning experience on our platform. Feel see link our course links there in our chat, so you can go and visit them later after our workshop. Okay, next slide, please, just so that we can go over the overview of each of our courses. On accessible digital learning, it's about creating safe and inclusive learning environments. So we'll tackle topics like the universal design for learning and how to provide options and alternatives to the learning experiences that we create. Then you can see again the domains 1, 4, and 3 are being mapped against it. Next slide, please. On responsible digital learning, this is about how to model safe, ethical, and responsible use for technology. Um, and then next, just our last course of the four, it's on enriching digital learning, and it's all about how to cultivate positive relationships and spaces through virtual and remote learning. So again, all four courses address different needs. It's really about bringing the digital TIA program and how it can support the professional development, specifically for teachers at the basic ed level, and also like help support schools create communities of learning, communities for professional development through the format of a LAC session or through learning action cells. yeah, I think I think we have our next activity, tama ba, Chess? Yes, matching needs.
Yes. Thank you, Jovi. Thank you for sharing yung ating care program. So as Jovi mentioned, ito pong buong project na to really believes that digital integration can be human-centered. Yes, and it's something that we also experienced in the past 2 years of the pandemic. We can really maximize digital spaces to enrich the learning experiences, not just of our students, but also of us teachers. So, and we know it can be challenging yung shift po na yan sa online learning space. That's why the care package, the care program really highlights that the entire integration process needs to be human centered. Yan. So right on schedule before we go po on a break, we'll invite everyone to try this activity. Let's try to match our needs. Yon. So sharing with you this free program on care. Try po natin siya i-match dun sa initially identified needs of our schools in terms of PD. Let's see. So how to do this? We'll invite you again to go to Miro. So if you're in your Zoom screen, we'll invite you again to go to Miro and we'll do this activity together. Yan. Meron pong feature yung Miro na summon everyone. I will do it. Yan. Punta na po tayo sa ating space. Yan. You can see this. It's right beside the what does your school need in terms of PD. Yan. So I'll invite you to go here. Activity 1 on matching needs. And then I'll invite everyone to this space. Yan. So if you're on Zoom, you're joining us in Zoom, we invite you again to go to this your Miro workspace or Miro screen. And then for the matching needs, we'll invite you to get your card from the inventory of school needs. So yung ginawa po, I'll show this. Zoom out first. There. Your card here and try to match it. Based on what you've heard about the care package, sa tingin niyo po saan siya fit or saan siya swak. So inviting you to get your card and move it. So how to do it? Pwede niyo po siyang, para po talaga siyang actual post-it board, you can get it from the left side and drag it to this new frame. Yon. So ganun po siya. Yan. So let's do it. Try natin ulit yung timer. Miro also has an embedded timer in music. Let's give ourselves 2 minutes. Yan. If you have questions po on the care program, if you have questions, feel free to write it in the chat. Yes, this is also a good time for us to share yung what each component of the care package is. If you also have ideas or questions about it. Yan. Thank you. So far, just by looking, mukhang marami sa ating needs pasok dun sa creative digital learning na program or the creative digital learning, creating more responsive teaching and learning strategies for our students, given our learning environment is really changing. Yan. Let's see. If you want to add more challenges or PD concerns, pwede din po yun. Just click how to add a card. Pwede po natin dito sa left side, merong sticky note. Yun, you can click it para magkaroon kayo ng card pa. Yan. We'll add more cards on the bottom part. If you wanna add, pwede din po kayong magdagdag. So far, let's see.
Yes, mukhang from like the very brief description of the 4 different courses, our participants were able to sort of match where their concerns could be. But of course, we invite you to do a deeper dive into the courses. So these are like accessible and free on our platform, Habi.plus. We've linked each individual course here in our chat. Maybe after our workshop, feel free to go through them to really get to know the content and what it can provide. Of course, we're not saying that these 4 courses have like all the answers to the problems that we've identified here on our board, because as we were designing these courses, we had no idea of what like the specific problems were. But our hope really is that at the very least, these courses, when you go through them, when you use them as talking points in your lab sessions, or when you use it as a jumping point for your school-based professional development, they open up that opportunity to explore and to really find relevant solutions to these PD needs or PD problems.
Thank you. Thank you, Joey, for that note. Tingnan natin if some of us are still moving. Yes, meron pang ilan. That's okay. Yan. So as Joey mentioned, these are free and free self-paced courses on Habi Plus. And ito po, we'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all the teachers who've also volunteered their time and effort to try the courses, contribute content, contribute activities. Because as Joby mentioned, this is a project that's been running since 2020, and we've been helped and supported by a lot of our teachers, both from higher education and also basic ed. So salamat po sa lahat ng mga teachers being very generous with sharing their time, talent, and treasure in building these self-paced courses for us. Yan. Sige, check natin. So far, interesting nga po mukhang marami sa creative digital learning based on our matching needs activity. Sige. Thank you. At this point, yan, we're already able to share our initial thoughts and experiences on professional development, pahapyaw ng paghihimay ng konteksto ng professional development sa basic education dito sa bansa. And we're also able to share the care program for everyone. I'll stop sharing yan. Yan. Na bahagi na rin po natin yung isa sa mga free and accessible professional development activities that we have for us through Facebook Digital Tayo's care program. Yan. So at this point, sakto po tayo. Thank you so much for being very on time in terms of our activities. We'll have a 10-minute break. Yan. So isa po sa magagandang practices also, best practices that we've learned, have a break in our online workshops and activities. So we have a 10-minute break. Balik po tayo. We invite you to come back here in our Zoom room by 5:10. Yes, 5:10 po tayo. Yan, so 5:10. And during the second hour, we will be looking at tools that we can use to plan and also to facilitate school-based professional development activities. Yan, so thank you po. We'll see you after 10 minutes. Let's have a break. Stretch po tayo.
Sandali lang, Chess. May gusto lang i-address before we go on that 10-minute break. Alex has a question here. May questionnaire po ba kayo for, I'm guessing, school assessment needs connected sa care program? Unfortunately, currently, wala pa tayo. Like, I'm thinking from the question, it's like, how to know which program to go for. Parang ganun yata yung peg ng parang questionnaire. But that's a fantastic idea. So, try namin gawan ng paraan yan. Thank you for that. And then we'll let you know. Once we create that questionnaire, we can distribute it for everyone so that they can know, like, mas madaling way nga ng pag-match yun. Thank you. So again, 10-minute break, stretch, drink water. We'll see you at 5:10. Thank you.
Kung meron po kayong questions kagaya ni Alex, thank you. Please share it sa chat. Yes. We highly encourage you to also share your thoughts in the chat. So let's have a break. For those po in Facebook Live, we also hope you go on a break. See you po after 10 minutes. May range. Meron tayong range of may 100. Yes. Meron ding 58.92. Yeah, so medyo may range tayo. Meron din tayong 203 billion. Yes. Gotcha. Yan. So mataas. Marami pa rin. So far, generally high pa yung
Generally
energy
high.
of
Yes.
those who are here in the Zoom room. So thank you. Parang pataas pa po yung energy natin.
Thank you.
Yan. Salamat. Thank you
Considering
for
na end of the day na halos,
Yes.
salamat at mataas pa rin po ang energy natin lahat.
It will to continue regulating our energy. For those joining us also in Facebook Live, if you're watching us live or watching us after this has been recorded, check nyo din also how you are at this point of the activity. Yan, sige. Let's proceed. Mataas-taas pang ating energy. Done with our check-up. Itong second part na po natin will shift gears and focus our conversation already on our professional development activities that we can do with our school. So meron pa po kaming isang i-share with everyone. We have some LAC guides. Pero pag-usapan muna natin, ano ba tong LAC guides na ito? Yan. G, if ready, let's proceed. Yan. So sharing this a bit, this is a practice, again, commonly used in our colleagues in the DepEd schools, in our public schools. If you're familiar po with LACs, let us know also heart reacts tayo sa Zoom or type it in sa chat. So yung learning action cells natin, for just to align everyone also, this is a practice that we're already doing yun in our DepEd schools. And it's a group of teachers who are engaged in collaborative learning sessions to solve shared challenges encountered in our school. So pinapractice na po siya ng ating mga DepEd schools. And it's an example of a school-based professional development activity. So teachers get to design their own PD activities for themselves. Yan. And then, yun po yung ating hope for again, as we shared a while ago, we hope you're able to have more school-based professional development activities. So part of the care package, other than the self-paced courses, we were also able to create LAC guides. Yun. So some tools that we can use in preparing LAC sessions and also facilitating LAC sessions. So we'll share the link with you. Pwede nyo rin po siyang i-access sa ating microsite. So for our preparing LAC sessions, andun po lahat yung description on what a LAC is, the different principles, how to assess needs of our core teachers, and how we can design LAC sessions or PD activities that are responsive to their needs. Yung isa pong key activity doon is on topic selection, because as we know, it's very challenging to select what the topic for a PD program. And then also asking feedback from our teachers on the design of our LAC sessions. Yun. So you can access po this playbook on preparing learning action cells for your schools or professional development activities for your co-teachers. So isa to sa ating LAC guides. We also have another guide or a playbook on facilitating LAC sessions. We know ito po very challenging because our learning environment is changing. Yung ilan po sa atin is going back to face-to-face teaching practices already. Some of us are engaging in high flex and hybrid learning, and while some of us are still on full online. So medyo mas flexible na po tayo in our environment also in adjusting. So how can we facilitate school-based LAC sessions in these different settings? So we also have that guide. Yan, pwede din po natin siyang ma-access, and we hope it will help us also in facilitating professional development activities, whether it's online or in person. Yan. So meron po tayong for this afternoon, we'll try to use 2 activities. One from planning LAC sessions, and another one on facilitating LAC sessions. We also have a third guide coming soon, and this one is on documenting and giving feedback yan, on our school-based professional development activities. Yan. Check ko lang po yung chat for messages. Yes, thank you so much. Lacey also shared the link to our playbooks. Yan, so pwede po natin din silang ma-access online. These playbooks were also a result of the ideas and suggestions of teachers just like you. Ilan po to sa mga naging suggestions nila when we also had our design sessions or focus group discussions on how we can bring the Facebook Digital Tayo program to basic education. So ilan po to dun sa lumabas talaga na key ideas and suggestions, create guides or playbooks in planning and facilitating school-based professional development activities. Yan. Checking po if you have questions also, please feel free to put it here on our chat or on Zoom. Yan. Sige. Ito po, as we go now to the next, this is again a quick interaction and survey from us. This time, let's use the chat or the comments for those who are in Zoom. Balikan po natin yung own context natin in our schools. So try to share with us what are the usual topics. So topics-based na po. Usual topics topics in your school-based PD sessions that you have in your school. Yan. So alam po natin, pasok na tayo ulit sa training season in most of our calendars. Ngayon pupunta po tayo sa summer break. Yan. And marami po tayong mga in-service trainings for para sa atin. Yan. So if you can share it sa chat, please let us know ano po yung mga upcoming PD sessions in your topics that you usually see in your school. Ako po, I'll start. Ang isang nakapila po sa amin is assessments. Yes. Mayroon po kami training on assessments again. Yun, and how we can refine our assessments for hybrid learning. Yes. Same kami ni Ma'am Jeannie, ni Ma'am on new assessment tools.
From by classroom management, that's a common topic for PD sessions. Delivery of class instruction and creating formative assessments from CNN, action research, niche hybrid learning. Yeah, parang yun na yung direction for most schools, going into like the hybrid modality or high flex modality and like everything that's needed for that. So I think mostly it's about assessment. How do you assess students going through that kind of modality?
Interactive audio instruction, e-classroom management, and module management. Interesting. Yes.
I suppose a lot of schools pa rin would go for online learning, especially kung hindi talaga kaya face-to-face pa, or of course, if they're providing that option for, I think some schools are providing that option for students na fully online lang. So it's both that hybrid and may online component.
So thank you for sharing your answers. We can see so far very unique answers and responses then from our teachers here in the Zoom room. But as Joby mentioned, marami talaga on assessments. Yes. And adjusting to the hybrid and high-flex learning environment. So as we know, ito po tayo sa education sector, really adjust and adapt to what's in the environment. So let's see how we can stay agile in adjusting our teaching and learning practices. Yan, how we can continuously build and design the better normal for all of us. So moving along, ito po yung in our last 40 minutes, we'll be exploring two specific tools and strategies that are part of the playbooks or the LAC guides that we shared with you a while ago. So mag-share po kami ng isang tool that can be used in planning school-based professional development activities, and another one on facilitating school-based professional development activities. At ano po natin ito, going back to our main message, that because of Facebook Digital Tayo Care Program, we truly believe that it must and it can be human-centered. The entire process of tech integration and designing PD programs can be human-centered so that it can really be addresses the actual needs of our colleagues, of our fellow teachers. So yun din po yung key features ng dalawang tool na ito. Yan, check lang po natin. If you have a guess, please let us know sa chat kung may hula po kayo na tool namin i-share. One tool for planning school-based learning action cells, and another one on facilitation. So, getting ready, yun po yung ating susubukan in the next hour. May hula ka ba, Joby?
I think, actually, gusto ko i-comment, like, if you're exploring our Miro workspace, I feel like makikita mo kung ano yung next na slide natin. Also, if suki kayo na mga workshops natin in Habi. We've been doing this since 2014. Medyo nag-evolve na rin itong tool na to
Yes.
actually. Especially in light of what we learned over the course of the pandemic.
Sige. Thank you, Jovi. I'll take your note on nag-evolve. Yan, because the first tool that we'll share is one of the earliest tool that Habi's been using. Yan, but as Jovi mentioned, it has evolved through the years and through the pandemic also. So ito po sa pinakalagi natin ginagamit in Habi also is yung empathy maps. Yan, so let us know po in the chat if or Zoom reacts po tayo ulit ng heart if you've experienced using empathy maps in different contexts. Yan, whether for work, for friends, for family, or if you've used empathy maps. Si Ma'am Angel nag-heart dito sa chat. I think nagamit na niya yung empathy map. Yan. Kay Alex, it's new. Okay. Yan. So in this context, we're using this tool to help us plan and assess the needs of our co-teachers and colleagues. Yan. So sige po, let's start. Yung empathy map is a tool really that helps us strengthen the practice of empathy. Yan, helping us visualize and gain a deeper understanding of others. This in particular our co-teachers who will be engaged in our professional development activities. Yung na-mention po ni Jovi na evolution, it started with this, yung ito po talagang literal na map. It's an actual map that tries to visualize what the learner sees, feel, experiences, yon. Lahat po yon. So kasama yun sa mga ginagawa natin ng empathy maps before. In the pandemic, eventually it has evolved. And yung what we'll share with you is another type of an empathy map, and that is shoes. Yan. Isa sa mga famous na sayings natin when it comes to empathy is really to put ourselves in another person's shoes. So ito po yung na-create natin na guide for us for doing this empathy map exercise for our colleagues or teachers is to look at the strengths of our co-teachers, starting with the strengths, their hopes, what their motivations in doing and engaging in professional development is, their obstacles and challenges also, what can block their or prevent them from engaging in professional development activities. And the everyday activities of our teachers, acknowledging that the pandemic has really changed the everyday setup and activities of our co-teachers. And finally, the spaces for learning, whether it's in person, if it's hybrid, if it's online. So we'll take a look at the shoes. We'll do this empathy exercise by looking at the strengths, hope, obstacles, everyday spaces, and everyday and spaces. So inviting you here in Zoom, if you have your pen and paper, you can do this offline. Pwede po natin itong gawin. If you're in Miro and you're exploring around, you can also do it in our online space. Yan. So yung shoes, yung ating empathy map exercise just goes through that. We have an example here po. We try to write all the strengths of our colleagues or the core teachers who will be engaged in the professional development activity. Yan. When we designed the CARE program, we also did this. Nagkaroon din po kami ng ganitong exercise, starting with the strengths of the teachers. And isa sa lumabas is that our teachers, because of the pandemic also, were really inclined to be open and exploring tech. May kasama ng by necessity, but it's a strength that our teachers are more open to integrating tech because of the current situation. Yan. So starting with the strengths. Yan. So inviting you also to do this in own time. Try to think about the strengths of your co-teachers. Yes. And we believe here in Habi also we have a strengths-based culture. So really starting at what our teachers are good at. Si Im, I think, is exploring sa ating Miro. Yan, sige po. Feel free to write it. You can also do with this offline on your pen and paper. Try to write the strengths of your co-teachers.
Invitation to actually for anyone here in our Zoom room or watching our Facebook Live, if you've already have that idea of creating a professional development program for your school or your community, you can try out this activity.
Yes.
It's really what we call like one of our himay activities of trying to uncover really what we know about our target learners or participants, and it will be really helpful in creating or designing relevant and effective programs or experiences for our target users.
Thank you, Jovi, for highlighting that. Yes, this is a great himay or understanding the context of our learners, or in this case, our co-teachers who will be engaged in the PD activity. Yun. So after the strengths, we also look at their hopes, their motivations, something that we can use in designing activities and PD activities that will really encourage them or keep them motivated. We know a while ago in our Mentimeter, we noticed that time is a challenge, and we know it's also an investment. So how can we motivate our teachers to engage in PD activities, yun, out of their volition, ideally out of their volition. So ito po yun, we also take a look at their hopes. Yan. Other than the hopes, I'll move us along to the next. We also, as mentioned a while ago, we also look at the obstacles. Ito po mahalaga din that we take a look at the challenges talaga. Yun, so challenges in engaging in PD activities. And we also do this when we also design the care program. Ilan po ito sa mga na-notice namin na obstacles na lumabas in our FGDs. The amount of work that teachers have in terms of admin tasks take away time for PD activities also. And then the responsibilities beyond school that can also take time and energy from teachers. And lumabas din po in our Mentimeter, the high cost of PD programs.
Yeah.
Some PD programs really cost a lot. Yun, hindi din po siya basta-basta. Meron ding may kagat din sa bulsa. So we also acknowledge those challenges and obstacles that we experience yun, before we design the PD activity for our teachers. Yan.
Invitation din for us to go beyond like a surface level. It's easy to say, again, it's easy to identify like time as an obstacle or budget as an obstacle. Pero let's try to think more deeply about where or what specifically do we mean by those things. So like as just mentioned, it's not the amount of time, but what eats up time. So too many admin tasks or responsibilities outside the home. Are your teachers doing a lot of like extra work beyond what was their original expectations, etc. So being more specific, especially in this part of our empathy map, would go a long way in helping us find solutions that would be really helpful and really address those problems.
Yes. If you notice also when we were sharing the care program, we tried our best to design the programs to be under 3 hours. Yun, because based also on our shoes exercise, time was really a challenge. And when we asked teachers also how much time can they be able to share, ang range po niya is on 1 hour to 2.5. So we tried to play around with that duration only. Yun. So para magamit ng teachers or makapag-engage sila in the activity. Yun. So another good question for us to ask is this: what will prevent them from engaging in the professional development activity? Yun. So moving along in the shoes, yung E, ito po yung talagang nadagdag in the pandemic setting, looking at their everyday situation. So what is their regular day life? Yun. So kung ano pong usual na nangyayari in their everyday, help us also make a more human-centered and responsive PD activities. Yan. So some examples, we know that some of our colleagues spend a lot of time on social media. Dito na tayo kumukuha ng news and also entertainment and also connecting with our friends and colleagues. We also know that some of our colleagues in my context have hybrid workspaces and that marami pa rin online faculty meetings and more. So we, in the empathy map exercise also, we highly encourage us to take a look at the everyday activities of our colleagues and our co-teachers. Yan.
Dagdag ko lang din, let's also not be shy of, if we are aware, identifying what it's like in their home or home setting, especially if we're still like working from home or hybrid setup. Whenever we do this exercise with other cohorts of teachers, talaga lumalabas like, taking care of their family, doing chores. Those things are a big part of the everyday context that we also have to consider. whenever we're trying to create a solution or an intervention for our teachers, we have to put that into consideration. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Jovi. And related to that point is yung spaces. Yes, yung everyday activities in the spaces is also something that we added to this empathy map exercise, because we know that we really have different learning spaces for our co-teachers. Yeah, so try describing their for digital spaces or their physical spaces. Where will they be when they engage in the professional development activity? Or what tools will they have access to, yun, so that we can also know what kind of tools they can use, yun. If you notice po in our pre-workshop survey, we also had that question. We ask you what device you will be using, if you'll be joining via mobile or via laptop or computer, because we know it will affect your engagement in the activity. So naging kasama na rin po yun sa ating practice in planning activities, being aware of the different spaces of our target learners. Yan. Tapos lumabas po kanina sa mentee natin, a lot of us, marami sa in this Zoom is exploring hybrid and high-flex learning. So ano pong magiging itsura din nun for our co-teachers? Yun, anong klaseng spaces din yung meron sila? Yeah.
Yes, because each school would have their own definition of hybrid and high flex, right? So it would be good to be specific also about that.
So this is it. Ito po yung for our first tool that we can use to help us plan our school-based professional development activities. And our key message for everyone is that it can really help us plan PD activities that are responsive to the realities, to the actual realities and context of our fellow teachers. So sabi nga po ni Jovi, the closer our empathy maps are to the reality, the more that we can create activities that are responsive to their needs. Yeah, so you can do this for your co-teachers, or you can ask your co-teachers also to do this on their own. Yun, para sila din po mismo makapag-reflect on their own context. And then we can share it to the planning team or for those who are involved in designing professional development activities. In terms of tools, we can also share din po yung mga templates that what we showed with you. We have worksheets po that follows the shoes exercise. And also if you'd like to use yung map version, we also have open education resources that you can use na following the empathy map exercise. Yan. Yun, so that's it for our first. Yan, ito po yung ating first tool. Salamat po for practicing and also giving us time to share this empathy map exercise. Yan. So yung next po natin, this one, our second, yes. Thank you, Liz, for sharing. Nilagay na po ni Liz dito yung access, our link to the worksheet. Yan. Moving to the next tool, this one po is for facilitating school-based professional development activities. And it's the check-in, something that we used a while ago. Yeah, so let us know again po in the chat if you've used or experienced check-ins in your own context already. Pwede po tayong mag-Zoom react sa Zoom, or please type in the chat if you're familiar with the use of check-ins. Yan, let's see. Based sa ating Zoom reacts, tingnan po natin ulit. Kanina po we experienced a check-in. Yes, when we started this, if you can recall, we started this entire workshop with a check-in. Yun po yung ating isa-share din sa inyo na very simple activity, but we know it's a very simple activity that can really influence the kind of learning environment that we have when we facilitate the learning session already. Yan, sige. Ikaw, Jovi, anong masasabi mo sa check-ins?
Sobrang honestly transformative siya na practice. Like I've never encountered or did check-ins before I came into Habi. Tapos when I got here, when I started practicing it, ginagawa ko na siya everywhere in any kind of interaction that I have, because it's honestly really that helpful, and powerful event that would influence really the succeeding experience. So we believe, especially that's why we're suggesting it, yung check-ins talaga ay napaka-helpful, especially for like PD learning experiences.
Yes. Thank you, Jovi. Simple activity na transformative and helpful in facilitating activities. Yan. So ano po ba ulit yung check-in? Let's just share it again. It's really a simple prompt. Yes, it's a prompt that allows us to sense each other's needs, motivations, and feelings at a given time. And usually, we do this at the start of a session. Yun. If you recall po, ito talaga yung una natin ginawa kanina. We had a check-in with the intention of understanding where people are coming from. So kanina, we used the prompt weather report. Yes, using that metaphor to describe how you are. Yun. So, dahil po doon na kami po as your facilitators, we were able to get a picture of what kind of energy all of us are bringing in this shared space. Yun. So, lalo na po dahil we are in an online space, hindi natin nakikita yung isa't isa in person. Iba din yung kind of space that we're sharing. So, this is something that has really helped us, still make the space very human, helps us to connect with each other as well. Yan. Tapos imagine po if we do this again in face-to-face settings. Also, yun. So, some pictures, may ilan po kaming pictures I share. Yes, we do this regardless of the number of participants. Yan. So, kung ilan man po ito, I think more than 100. Yan. Or as intimate as 4 or 3. Yan. This one picture on the side, we did in the online space. So we did a check-in din po with the team. So different ways on how we can use the check-in activity. So we do this usually at the start, and then pwede din po may check-up sa gitna, just like what we did a while ago, energy check, kamusta kayo? And then towards the end also we'll have a check-out. Yan. So mamaya may check-out din po tayo to complete that way of sensing and checking how each of the learners are. Yeah, so when we do this po in the LAC or school-based professional development programs, as participants, our teachers who will be engaging in it will be able to share their context kung kamusta sila. They will also be able to express their needs and helps them ease into the session, especially dahil sa start siya. Yun, and then we will also know how the other participants are, how they are coming into the activity since it's a shared learning space. And ito naman, as LAC facilitator, it will help us get to know our participants based on their responses. We will also know how to adjust and accommodate each other and prioritize activities that are aligned with our participants' goals and intentions. Yun. Jovi, kanina, how did you notice us use the check-in to adjust our online workshop? Yan.
How did I notice?
Na on the spot ko si Jovi.
I don't know if it's because we're used to facilitating based on check-ins. When I guess looking back, a lot of us were feeling maulan, makulimlim, ganun yung parang vibe nung check-ins. And I think how I adjusted personally would be how I deliver my energy na hindi masyadong mataas that would like contrast to where they're coming from, and maybe just gently like easing them into our session. Yung energy ba pakikibagay din and pakikiramdam to where our participants are coming from.
Yes, thank you, Jovi. That's why we're also highly encouraging everyone to share their check-in responses also. So that's very valuable information also for us, for the facilitators, and also for each other. So we know what's on your mind, what's your current context, and we can adjust our facilitation and also our activities. Yan. So key message po natin when ang invitation for everyone as a check-in can invite us to take care of each other during our time together. So when our teachers come to the professional development activity, we can show that care by listening to their check-in responses, giving that time and space for them to check in, share their thoughts, their insights as we start the activity. So something po na very human-centered and something very aligned also to our culture here in the Philippines, listening to each other's needs and concerns. So a few more reminders on doing check-ins. Basahin po muna natin yung chat. Yan. Thank you. A few tips and tricks for us on how we do check-ins. Yan. Something that we can also use in our own classrooms, not just for professional development activities. So a few guide for us when we set up check-ins or we choose a prompt. Take a look at the intention. Tingnan po natin yung ano yung intention natin for doing the check-in. Yun. Is it to sense check how they are in that moment to get their expectations? So set the intention. And then the norms, creating that safe space also. What should participants know about how to check in? Yun. So acknowledging that it's a shared space and everyone will be asked to share their check-in. And then choosing your prompt. So kung ano na po yung magiging check-in prompt natin for each other. And then finally, processing it. So when we ask a question, we also we listen to it as facilitators and then we try to process it and connect it to the learning activity that we will do. So ilan po mga guide for us when we set up check-ins. Yan. In physical spaces, ito din po yung mga ilang recommendations. Doing it in a circle so that we see each other. So everyone's in that circle, we see each other. We usually remind each other na lahat kasali lahat. That's why we want to see everyone in that space. Yun, make sure that everyone's seen and also heard. Yan. But in the online space, Joby, paano natin to ginagawa? When we go in the online space,
usually cameras on if possible, or unmute then. If we're using props like slides or parang showing images, we pause from that, so we go to gallery mode para like makita lahat ng boxes, and then we change the setting depending on like how many we are in the room. We also offer alternatives, so if they can't unmute, for example, maingay sa lugar nila, or mahina yung internet connection. For audio, we use our chat functions. We also do like offline check-ins via chat or asynchronously. When we don't have like synchronous time, for example, in our workspace, we just put up a prompt that people can respond to anytime that they are able to check in. And again, Menti is very useful for that. Parang working with a crowd or a group of people digitally. So, and yung kagandahan is it's capturing the responses by creating patterns and visualization.
Yeah, so kaya pa rin po siya gawin even the online space and even in face-to-face settings, we highly recommend that we can use it to create that safe learning space. So some norms when we do check-ins then, ito po yung something that we set also so that we understand what a check-in is. So number one, there are no right or wrong answers. Lahat po ng answers are welcome in the check-in. So to really encourage our participants to share their check-in responses. And then inviting everyone to share what we're comfortable to share. So wala din pong pilitan. Kung ano lang din po yung comfortable for each of the participants to share in their check-in in the prompt. Yeah. And then as we invite everyone to listen without judgment, just listen with curiosity on what our answers are. For example, kanina, if may nagsabi po na binabagyo, that's okay. Or we listen. And we also empathize na, okay, we know na one of our participants, ang internal weather report are medyo maulan, stormy. So we listen without judgment and making it a safe space for everyone to share. So kaya din po siya very powerful because it's at the start of the activity, and when we're able to open the learning activity with something like a check-in, nasa-set na rin niya yung tone for the rest of the activity. Yun. So sample, sige, tingnan po natin, we have some time for a few samples. For this po, we encourage you to use the chat. Yan, pwede po tayong mag-share sa chat. Let's use the chat for engagement. Let's share some examples ng some check-in prompts that we can use for colleagues, for co-teachers natin. Sige. Joby, ready? Bigay tayo ng ilang samples. Sige. Let's give 3. Yan, sige. Bigay tayo ng 3 examples. Yan. So for example po, if yung intention is to know how the group is feeling right now. Yun. Right now, some examples. How are you feeling coming to the session? Pwedeng one word feeling. How are you feeling coming to the session? Or metaphors. What color represents how you're feeling today? Yan. So feel free po to share some ideas sa chat to know how the group is feeling. Anong klase kayang check-in prompt yung we can use?
Isang favorite natin, Chess, na parati natin binabalikan, na medyo radical, medyo metaphorical. Anong luto ka ng itlog ngayon? So, again, metaphorical, medyo visual or conceptual na check-in.
Metaphors.
Yes, metaphors. Siyempre, feelings are complex, so sometimes it's can be easier to explain with images, with visuals, with a metaphor. We also sometimes do like drawing exercises to represent that particular prompt. How are you feeling right now as a drawing? If you have the time to do that, you can use that.
If you're able to also check sa chat, you see some responses of our co-teachers and nakakatulong talaga in using a metaphor. It makes it easier yon to answer the question because generally it's a creative way of asking the question, how are you? Kumusta ka? And we know sometimes it's hard to answer that question. So adding this prompt or having a check-in prompt helps us also help each other in answering that question of how are you yun as we come into the session. And yan, nakikita nyo din na it's also a way to get to know each other. If you try to look at the responses here sa chat, just by looking at the responses, we also get to know the people or the participants in the room. Yan. So some examples lang po to ng check-in prompts. And then usually we do this again at the start. So try natin isa pang example. If yung intention naman is to check what's on their mind. Yan, anong laman-laman ng kanilang isipan as they start their professional development activity. For example, it's at the end of the day and the activity is set at around 4 p.m. Tapos na yung full day nila of teaching and then you have a lax session. You want to know what's on their mind? So something pwede nating tanungin. Ito very open to really checking out what's on their mind, what's distracting you right now. So minsan din po tinatanong natin to so that we can just give space and air it out or mailabas lang natin yung what's distracting you right now. For example, minsan po when we use this in the office, we can say, distracted ako sa ingay ng kalsada. Ganyan. Or distracted ako kasi meron pang mga construction din ako na naririnig na sounds. So we're also aware na yun yung learning environment or current space ng ilan naming teammates. Yan. Or where would you rather be? Yan. So just to check kung ano po yung mga laman ng kanilang utak before we start with the PD activity. +1 sa sagot ni Bebs. +1 po sa inyong sagot. Yes.
Nakakatuwa that they're responding to our examples. So napapractice na niya yung paano mag-respond sa ating mga check-in prompts.
Yan. And for our last example, ito naman, if our intention is to know the expectations of our co-teachers, we can ask some examples. We can ask them the question, what will make you say that this is a good session? Yun, para makita din po natin anong expectations nila on a good lax session or a school-based professional development activity. Or asking how they feel. How do you want to feel at the end of the session? Yan. Ikaw, Joby, can you share experiences when we use check-in, similar to this? The intention was to set expectation.
Yes. Siguro yung parang in general, like if we go with check-in prompts that ask for expectation, medyo may pagka self-fulfilling prophecy siya because once everyone knows where everyone is at and what they're expecting out of the session, may tendency that the participants will behave to achieve that outcome. So nakakatulong siya actually. Like if they expect the session to be short and productive, most of the time people would try to behave in that way and to help to achieve that outcome for the group. Ano pa bang mga prompts specific questions when it comes to like what do you expect, what are your expectations. Yeah, what will make you say, how do you want to feel? Um,
Yung if you notice po in our examples, there are really many prompts that we can use.
mhm.
And it will also stem from the intention that we have for the check-in. So kung yun, kagaya po nun in our examples, if your intention is to get to know how they're feeling at the start of the session, we can use this kind of prompt. If we want to know their expectations, ito din po yung klase ng prompt that we can use. So it really depends on your intention as LAC facilitator, what kind of check-in prompt you can use for your colleagues and your co-teachers. Yan. So ito lang po, very important, when we use check-ins, we also give the time and the space to process it. Tayo po as Slack facilitators or school-based professional learning activity facilitators, we process it. So give everyone time to listen or to read to the responses of our colleagues. And then we can highlight patterns, yun, but don't generalize because we know na iba-iba pa rin tayo ng context. But we can call attention to what we're sensing based on the responses. Acknowledge all check-ins. Yes, again, there are no bad check-ins, no right or wrong check-ins. Ito po yung lahat ng responses are welcome in our check-in space. And ito po yung sa point ni Jovi kanina on how we can also use the check-in to support one another in the session, especially since we know na ito pong learning action cells and school-based professional development activities are highly collaborative. It happens in a shared space. Kaya each of us who shows up in that space has an input, has an impact and effect on the kind of learning activity environment that we will have. So mahalaga din po na we are also able to process the check-in. Yun. So ito lang po, just letting you know also na because of also the practice during check-in, we were also already able to create a playbook with different check-in prompts that you can use in your own context. Yan, meron po tayong check, si Jovi po may actual book. We have the check-in playbook that you can access through Habi Shop. Marami po siyang, it has a lot of check-in prompts. And thank you also for joining us in this workshop. We can also share with you po yung ating Padlet. Meron po tayong Padlet with a lot of check-in ideas from co-teachers and colleagues in our past workshops yon. So, pwede natin pong dagdagan pa. If you can think of more check-ins, you can access it also in that board, and then we can share it po with your colleagues also. Yan.
Plug ko na rin since we're plugging. Meron tayong podcast, ang Habi Art. If you go to Spotify and Google Podcast, we have an episode on check-ins. So you can take a listen and, we have someone sharing like yung experiences nila of using check-in. So very helpful. Yan. Season in. Ayan, sa chat box natin. Thank you for ordering. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you also for your messages in the chat. Yan, we're seeing the chat. Some of you sharing their experiences in using check-ins also. Thank you po for also sharing how check-ins are also able to help you in your own practice, whether as teachers or as facilitators. Yan. Hindi ko po namalayan na 5 minutes na lang to 6 we're at the end of our workshop. Before we wrap it up, can we give everyone virtual round of applause? Thank you so much for... Meron po tayong round of applause. Care of Joey.
Yes. Ano narinig niyo? Isa pa.
Ayan. Salamat po. Thank you so much for your active participation in different ways, for being here in the Zoom room, for commenting in the Facebook comments, in sending your thoughts in the chat, in doing the Miro. Thank you so much for engaging in a way that is accessible and available to you. Salamat po for sharing also your time. So as a recap, we wrap up our session today. We were able to exchange stories through the Mentimeter. Yan, kung ano yung initial thoughts natin on PD, what's our current experiences with PD, what we think are effective PD activities, and then yung current situation natin when it comes to the PPST. And then we were also able to share one specific program that we have from Facebook Digital Tayo, the CARE package, yun, and how it can support professional development in basic education. Grounded on the idea that tech integration can be human-centered and we can center it on care. Yeah, and finally, in the last hour, meron po tayong very light sharing and very light sharing of different tools that we can use for planning our professional development activities and facilitating development, professional development activities. Nagawa po natin itong lahat in 2 hours. Thank you so much for joining us and also sharing this space. And what, in terms of our objectives, mukha pong let us know if we think we're able to hit this. We'll also ask it in the feedback form. Let us know how we can improve the learning session also for our future runs of the workshop. So hopefully, nakapag-exchange tayo ng stories. We've been introduced to care, and we have a snapshot, or we have experienced at least 2 tools that can help us with our school-based learning action sets. In terms of what's next, Jovi, gusto mo silang invite? What
Yes.
can our teachers do?
Yes. So once again, we invite you to visit our microsite for Digital Tayo. It's digitaltayo.habieducationlab.org. For the specific page on our care package, just add /care-package. You will see there the different self-paced care courses that we created on our platform, Habi Plus, and also downloadables of our learning action cell guides. You can also explore the main Digital Tayo site. You can see all of our teacher course packs for the pre-service teachers. These are resources on how to teach digital literacy skills. We also have project exemplars that you can look at. Later on, something to look forward to. We are also doing, or have been doing, an impact study on the different teachers who have tried out the course packs and like ano yung naging experience nila. I'm guessing by next month we'll be able to publish that on our microsite. So look forward to that. So again, please kindly visit our microsite, digitaltayo.habieducationlab.org/care-package. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah, and feel free po also to localize it and customize it pa for your school context. If you want to remix the materials you see in this microsite, go ahead. We highly encourage you to do it. Yun, because we know nga po na each context is very unique to our teachers and to our teachers. Yeah, and so we hope to see you also po in our microsite and in our future synchronous activities, maybe even face-to-face workshops na in the future ulit. Yan. So we're here. We have reached this point for a checkout. Muli marami pong salamat. We did the check-in. We also did a check-up. And it's now time for a checkout. Yan. So to help us transition out from this shared activity also. So for this po, invite namin kayo to share your checkout responses in the comments or in the Zoom Facebook comments. You can share your checkout. Ang ating prompt, ano po kayang prompt natin? Isip tayo. Ito, sige. Let's go with this. Sige po. Yan. Tingnan po natin kung anong baon natin. Yeah. Let's share with each other ano po yung baon niyo from our session. And again, all responses are welcome. Yes. So walang tama mo ring sagot. Please let us know in the chat. Share your thoughts in the chat or the comment section. What is your takeaway from today's session? Yan. Thinking time. We'll read your checkout responses also from the chat. Ikaw, Jovi, anong checkout mo from today? From today's session?
Napapaisip pa ako eh. Nag-isip pa ako.
Sige.
Take away from our session. I would say, meron akong baong, ano ba, hope. At parang looking forward. Parang that energy of like looking forward. Kasi parang feeling ko madami talaga opportunities when it comes to teacher professional development. From before pa and in light of recent events, there's a lot of opportunities and space for us to help each other, to care for one another, to care for our teaching profession, and create more PD opportunities for us.
Thank you, Jovi. Thank you also for your checkout responses in chat, reading them also. Inviting you also to read the checkout responses of our fellow teachers here in the room. Yan. Yung iba sa atin on what they're able to learn. Yung ibang checkouts natin dito, what they will do after the session. Yan, like apply shoes. Yan. So thank you. Kagaya po ninyo, I feel very very much light. Same with Yana, +1, very light. But still a lot of conversations that we can take outside of this call and apply in our own context. So muli, maraming pong salamat from everyone at Habi and also from our friends from Facebook Digital Tayo. Thank you so much. Yan. Maraming pong salamat. We invite you also po to unmute so that we can hear each other's voices as we say goodbye to each other. Yan. So inviting you po to unmute or turn on your cameras. We'll see each other's faces. Say goodbye. We
Siguro
will
we can end muna our
Yes,
live.
alam mo na. Yeah.
End
This-
muna
at
our
this
live.
For those
Thank
in
you
Facebook
sa
Live,
viewers.
thank you. See you po again.
Thank
Yeah.
you sa ating Facebook Live viewers. End muna natin yung live. And then, siguro invitation nga for us to take a group photo maybe. If you can turn on our cameras. Feel free to also unmute. And
Checking
kung
Yes.
kakilala
We are
kayo,
done.
Yes po.
We're not on.
Yes,
hindi tayo
tayo
naka-live.
sa Facebook. Hello, ayun nakita natin yung mga participants.
Hindi na po tayo naka-live. Pati na po tayo
Hindi na tayo naka-live. Oo nga. Ayan, salamat. 'Di ba? Parang ang bilis lang ng 2 hours. Sige, mag-photo na tayo. Hintayin ko lang yung ibang mag-on ng camera. Tapos wag po muna tayo mag-chat para hindi po
Sige po.
magpa-pop out yung ating chat box. And ayos-ayos po rin tayo ng buhok.
Thank you so much, Lacey.
Ayan. No, nga, wait lang.
Ang gaganda po ng Zoom backgrounds ng ating
Oo
mga
nga
teachers.
eh.
Iba talaga kapag teachers ang kasama, the Zoom room is prepared. Ang gaganda
Yan.
po.
Ayan na, naka-on na yung mga camera. Wait, mag-shot na ako. 2 stage po tayo, so smile lang po tayo. Okay, ready na? Wait. 1, 2, 3.
so ngiti lang tayo, hindi tayo sure kung aling page.
Okay, next page. Wait.
May 2 pages po.
Ayan,
Yes.
hintayin ko lang nagbubukas yung ibang camera. Okay, game 1, 2, 3. Ayan, thank you po.
Thank you everyone.
Marami po
Yung ibang
salamat.
mga partners natin nandyan, may mga teachers from JRU, from Pisay.
Opo.
Ayan, yung mga
Nice to see you po, Tupe.
teachers natin.
Sir Tupe and Sir
Hello.
Hayden.
Thank you po for attending.
Sir Senen, thank you. Nice to see everyone. Ingat po tayo.
Apo,
Tuloy
ingat
po
po
ang ating
See you online.
tuloy ang ating pagtuturo.
Opo.
Thank you so much.